In the quiet space theater, it is rare for discoveries to come to light. They arrive as tiny blips, odd pulses, and data, a light that lingers in the wrong spectrum. This is how it all started, with a faint, stubborn anomaly that refused to act in any manner astronomers expected. At first, it looked like another interstellar visitor, the kind the solar system sees every once in a while. But this one was distinct, larger, quicker, and acting in a way that betrayed intent. After the James Webb Space Telescope turned its eye, the infrared, toward the object, what it saw changed the vocabulary of the people watching it. It wasn't simply a rock tumbling through the void. It moved with purpose. Its trajectory was hyperbolic, a one-way ticket through our system. But it didn't coast. It used gravity like a pilot uses wind, executing slingshot maneuvers with such precision it looked planned. Rather than random flybys, its path skimmed Mars, arced past Earth under the sun's glare, then bent toward Venus and Jupiter in an optimized order, observing every planet while minimizing human involvement. Statisticians ran the numbers and found the odds of such a path being natural were incredibly insignificant. Size made it worse. Estimates put it between 6 and 9 miles across, not a comet, not an asteroid, but a small object about the size of a city moving at speeds that mocked our best engines. At that scale and velocity, anything natural would tear itself apart, broken by its own forces. The object remained whole. It accelerated. Utilizing planetary gravity with precision, it trailed a glow that spectral analysis later described as neither gas nor dust, but focused, directed energy. A thermal exhaust patterned, pulsed, and symmetrical. Those pulses were the moment the language changed from curiosity to alarm. Each burst cycled in a steady rhythm. Each left tiny, measurable course corrections. The exhaust wasn't random venting. It behaved like steering. Control, deliberate thrust. Then an outsider detail appeared. Embedded within that glow were elements and electromagnetic signatures not found in nature on Earth. Materials with superconductive profiles, composites arranged in a manner that suggested manufacture rather than geology. The team at Webb didn't announce this. Internal memos leaked. Scientists whispered. The data kept piling up. The exhaust pulses carried modulations, tiny alterations in timing and amplitude that, when run through AI tools for pattern recognition, displayed encoded prime sequences and structural ratios. Geometric harmonics embedded inside propulsion. Not a distress call aimed at us, but a carrier signal pointed away from Earth toward the deep, empty regions of space. Some called it a log. Others, more alarmed, referred to it as a beacon or perhaps an activation code meant for something beyond human reach. As the object swept through the system, anomalies began to ripple back home. Magnetometers across the globe lit up with synchronized ultra-low frequency blips. Birds and marine animals altered migratory patterns in unison. Low-orbiting satellites picked up weak echoes that looked like reflections from below, as if the planet itself had answered an unheard knock. Private arrays detected a thermal spike on the moon, focused on a mass beneath an ancient crater. Dormant seismometers recorded rhythmic pulses coinciding with the exhaust bursts. The frequency matched 11 seconds here, 19 seconds there. Patterns repeating across instruments, instruments repeating across continents. Then everything stopped talking. The emissions ceased. The object, still tracked by Webb's scans, slowed and became quiet, but its speed held steady, even increased. No wobble, no break-up, no sign of natural decay. It should have been out of fuel, but it wasn't. It had completed its sequence and entered a new, unreadable mode. At almost the same instant, the Voyager probe's relics drifting at the edge of our system registered a subtle electromagnetic shift. A low-bandwidth pulse, aligned exactly at the right time. The object fell silent, not aimed at Earth, but caught by tools dating back to a distant age. When researchers dove into the finer details, even more unsettling patterns emerged. Gravitational lensing was found around the thing. A lensing that could not by itself justify its apparent mass. Light from distant stars arrived microseconds early, as though the fabric of spacetime was bent or compressed locally. Every time, the distortion subtly changed. Earth sent directed signals suggesting the field around the object was adaptive, responsive. Some theoretical models that matched the data invoked very exotic physics, localized spacetime manipulation, transient micro-wormholes, or technologies that fold space rather than push through it. In other words, not a spacecraft in conventional terms, but a machine that treats space like a medium to be shaped, a gate perhaps, rather than a ship. If a propulsion system could bend space to slide forward without the expected reaction mass, then the limitations of Newtonian mechanics would no longer bind its builders. Simulations that tried every known engine failed. The only concept that approximated the findings was similar to vacuum field manipulation, a method that creates local pressure differentials in spacetime to produce motion without exhaust in the conventional sense. If true, this would place the object's creators not decades but thousands of years before us. Even more disturbing was the biochemical fingerprint hidden in the faint infrared emissions. Incorporated into the low-temperature glow were recursive molecular patterns that, when mapped against protein folding models, resembled a molecular language, not words, but geometry and sequences that might be interpreted as encoding carbon lattice folding into structures that suggested organized, information-rich molecules, biological or synthetic scaffolds, genetic material. The possibility arose that this object carried not just data but seeds, complex molecular packages designed to survive interstellar travel and to interact with planetary environments when activated. Like the moon's burst of non-radio energy, the reawakening of long silent seismometers and geomagnetic ripples synchronized across continents, these signals together suggested that the object had set something off. An antiquated protocol, a buried node, a system we never knew existed, buried in the crust, waiting for a signal tuned to a frequency only such an object could emit. The idea moved from theory into chilling plausibility. Perhaps the object was not here to study us, but to awaken something that had been dormant for eons. Worse, this sequence was linked to evidence of previous anomalies. Years earlier, an interstellar visitor passed by, small, silent, and strangely inert, with the exception of a brief electromagnetic echo. What had at the time seemed a ghostly oddity now looks like Phase 1. The diminutive object was locked, inert, and unreadable. This larger one may be the key. Together, they could form a protocol designed to unlock dormant systems or to start new ones across a solar system. If that interpretation holds, then our bedtime story of first contact as a polite handshake or a clear signal is wrong. First contact might be a maneuver. First contact might be an awakening. The question that now hangs over everything is simple and terrifying: who sent it, and why? Was it surveillance or reconnaissance? Following a scout? A mission to sow seeds intended to propagate life or engineered systems? Or a command intended for something already here, something we cannot easily detect? The absence of greeting or outreach suggests disregard for human awareness. The silence is not passive, it feels intentional. We now await a response, a window. Not just observers, but participants in a sequence we may have triggered by the act of seeing. Models and instruments can only take us so far. Beyond them lies the unknown, whatever lies behind the lens, whatever answers when the old nodes stir, whatever listens when a key turns in a mechanism no longer remembered. If this story ends with a revelation, it will not arrive with fanfare. It will come in pulses, in strains of encoded data, in shifts that buried instruments recorded and distant probes detected. It will come as a reordering of assumptions about our place in the cosmos. For now, we watch, we measure, and we prepare for the possibility that space is not empty, and that the quiet between the stars may hide long-armed things waiting for the right note to be played.